Well, hey, welcome back to RiversideRealEstateSuccess.com. My name is Chris Mueller, and I'm really excited about today's interview. So normally we bring in top producers in the real estate market, people who are selling, 36 units plus a year. Today's interview is a little bit different, and I'm excited to get into that. My guest today is Toyin Dawodu. We just did this. Dawodu?
Yeah, Dawodu.
Dawodu. And a fantastic journey that real estate's played a big part in. And so I just wanted to kick it off there. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
All right.
Yeah.
So Toyin, we were just talking about this before we started filming, but you have a very interesting background. And from what I could tell, just researching online, the story starts in Nigeria. It makes a stop in London. It ends up in San Bernardino.
It's cold outside. I didn't know it was going to be warm inside your house.
Sorry about that. So I would love to hear just sort of an overview of how did you get here? How did you end up in, Riverside, California, doing real estate investment? How did this happen?
So I came to Riverside by way of Las Vegas. I used to live in London. I went to school in London for my first degree. And then I wanted to continue my degree here in the US. So my cousin was already here. So he invited me over, and so I met with him, flew to Vegas. I didn't like it. It was too hot. so I was there for about 3 weeks. And then he had a friend in Riverside. He said, okay, go to Riverside. It's a little bit cooler there.
Okay.
That's how I got to Riverside.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so most people don't think of Riverside as the cooler part of Southern California.
Well, compared to Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So you went to Las Vegas. What did you do? You left London. I mean, from what I could see, your degree was in like food science?
Food science. They call it food science technology in those days. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you go to Las Vegas to do food science technology, or was it just an opportunity?
My plan was to come here and get an MBA.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And so then you came to Riverside, and then you went ahead and finished that MBA here.
Correct, yes.
Okay. And what was the plan at that point? You were going to get an MBA and then do what?
That's a good question. I was going to get an MBA, maybe go back home.
Okay.
Okay, but it didn't quite work out that way, So I had started a job while I was going through my MBA. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I think the company paid for part of my MBA.
Okay.
So after I left, after I graduated with my MBA, I wanted to go to investment banking. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to go to New York because it was too cold.
Yeah.
So I decided, well, I'm just going to start a business. And that's really, what happened. I started a business.
Right.
It didn't last long because I ran out of cash pretty quick.
Okay.
So in fact, I used part of my student loan to start a business.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was in the business for about 6 months.
Now, what was that first business?
It was beauty products.
Okay.
Yeah, I called it Destiny Products at that time.
All right. And so the first venture into business on your own lasted about 6 months.
Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. And then you gave up and never started another business after that.
Well, I mean, when you run out of money, you got to go get a job, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I decided, I couldn't compete. That's really the bottom line. Okay. I didn't have enough to produce volume to where I can compete for what I was selling. I was selling shampoo, air conditioners, and stuff like that. So after 6 months, I had, ran out of money. So I started looking for a job. Mm-hmm. But I had a problem because everywhere I go, either I had no experience or I was too qualified.
Okay.
So, because you go to a job and you present them with a BA, MBA, and you're looking for a minimum wage job. It's like, oh, no.
Right.
Are you here to laugh at us? That's really what I encountered.
Right.
So then one day I saw an ad in the paper for sales, car sales.
Okay.
So I said, well, I'm going to apply for this because it was commission. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, whatever. So I went and I gave the guy my resume because I didn't know that in the car business, you don't need a resume.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, are you breathing? Yes. Okay. Come sell cars. Yes. Yeah.
That's what happened. So I gave him my resume. The guy just laughed at me and he looked at it and he said, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
I said, "I'm looking for work."
Mm-hmm.
Really? So he said, "So how much you want to make a month?" I said, I don't know, 1,500. Because in those days,
That's a lot of money.
My rent was like $200.
Right.
So
Now, what year is this? Just to get
this was like I think 1986.
Okay, so 1986,
85, 86.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
All right. And so you started selling cars at that point?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. And then
Yeah.
did you stay there? I mean, what was the?
Oh yeah, I was there. Yeah,
Okay.
I was in the car business for about 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how old were you at this point?
I think probably I probably what, maybe 20, 29, 30 or something.
Okay.
20, yeah.
Okay. So still a young man,
Yeah.
still getting started, had the MBA.
Mm-hmm.
We started one business, didn't work out, went into the car sales. So what did that lead you to? Where did we go from there?
Well, so I've always wanted to do my own business.
Okay.
So, even when I was living in London,
Mm-hmm.
I had my own business while I was going to school,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because in those days, before there was Uber, we were doing Uber in London.
Okay.
Yeah, you use your car, you go to this place. They have the black cabs in
Yeah.
London. Then they have what they call cab.
Okay.
Okay, but you don't have to paint your car. It's private, right?
Right.
So you go to this office, everybody sits there, and then people call in,
Okay.
and then you take turns, just like Uber, except that there was no app.
Right. So it's like it's more like a car service than a taxi.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, correct.
okay,
Yeah, So they'll call and they will tell the manager. We had a manager, like a dispatcher.
Mm-hmm.
So he would say, "Well, okay, Toyin, it's your turn. These people want to go to Knightsbridge. They want to go to Soho, something like that."
Mm-hmm.
And then you take them. You come back to the office.
Right.
If you don't come back to the office, you could go home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they will call you, and then you go pick up the fare.
Right.
So it was just like Uber. So in those days, when I was in London, it was most of my student friends, they had a job,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't want a job. I want something that would, make me more money. That's
Right. Okay. And so you did that by kind of the serial entrepreneur spirit.
Correct,
Right.
yeah.
When you did that, had that business.
Mm-hmm.
So you did the used car sale or the car sales here in the United States. And then what was the business you started, the second business you started?
So when I left the car business,
Yeah.
in I think 92 or something,
Mm-hmm.
I started a credit repair business.
Okay.
Right. So I was running that for a while, for about 2 years. Then I added a bankruptcy business. So
Okay.
I hooked up with an attorney, and we
Mm-hmm.
were doing. I was doing all the marketing.
Right. Right.
So because I was good at marketing, so I could generate enough leads to where the attorney has access.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that. Then I added debt consolidation.
Right.
In those days there were a lot of high debt.
Right.
Everybody was going under, and so we were doing bankruptcies for them,
Okay.
right? And then after that, I got my broker's license.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So when most people were running out of the real estate market,
Mhm.
because it was a crash in the 90s,
Correct. Yeah.
you ran in.
I ran in.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I didn't know there was a crash.
Right. Right. You were just doing the debt consolidation, bankruptcy, and you thought there's
And then
opportunities
buying
here.
real estate on the side. Yeah.
Okay. So that's okay. So at that point, you saw the opportunity to start investing in real estate.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Now, so is that, and that's kind of been, is that your bread and butter? Is that what you've moved to now, or is that?
Well,
just-
yeah, that's eventually. I don't know what's my note. Sorry.
Yeah.
So eventually, it dawned on me the real estate. It's really where prior to that, I actually have been taking classes in real estate.
Mhm.
Because when I was in the car business, I had friends that wanted to get into real estate, want to do foreclosures and stuff like that. So I
Mhm.
was taking training. I just never make it full time.
Right. Right. Okay. So, but at that point, you made the jump out, got the broker's license,
Mhm.
and then started really looking at real estate as a vehicle for yourself.
Correct. Yes.
So an investment vehicle.
Yes. I never looked at it as
All right.
a real estate brokerage.
And now what year is that? That's the 90s, we're saying?
That's so I got my license in 93.
93.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you've been investing in real estate now since 1993.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the first. Well, I already owned some property prior to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was always looking at foreclosures.
Right.
I think I bought the first one maybe in 94, 95.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? There's a lot of people out there who would be in your situation where they try to start a business, the business failed, they went and got a job selling cars. It sounds like you did well selling cars. So they just focused on selling cars, whereas you had a mindset that said, I don't want to sell cars forever.
Correct.
And you started investing in real estate. How did that happen?
So selling cars is like a commission, right?
Right.
So even while I was selling cars, people were always asking me questions because I always talk about real estate.
Okay.
But I knew I wasn't going to be in car business for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So when the opportunity presented itself, I basically said bye-bye to car business.
Mm-hmm.
So how did I transition to where I made it full-time?
Yeah.
It's because always in my mind, I always wanted a business.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what business, because when I went to school for food science, I never got a job as a food scientist ever. But I've always liked business because I grew up with business. I used to go with my mom to the market, sell stuff and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always like in my mind that I have to do business, and I'm kind of fairly independent.
Mm-hmm.
I get bored pretty quick, in terms of doing the same thing over and over again. The only thing I don't get bored with is actually creating something, selling something. I don't want to say making money, but providing, solutions and service to people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for anything that I feel passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was selling cars, I was very passionate. So I was top salesman for the 5 years that I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got in real estate, I looked at it as buying from people that really need to sell,
Mm-hmm.
and then selling for people that need it.
Right. So when you're buying, because you sold, I think you did 10 homes this year, right? I think 9 of them were listings, 1 of them was a buyer.
Yeah.
And, we're in another sort of market right now where a lot of people are saying things like, well, there's no homes to sell. Okay. Or, like as investors, well, it's a bad time to be an investor. There's no opportunities, yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. You had 9 homes that you, I'm guessing, bought from somebody.
Correct. Yeah.
And then sold as flips, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what would you say to somebody who says that, it's a bad time to get into investing. There's no business out there. There's no opportunities. What do you say to that?
First, I would laugh.
All right.
I'm opening an escrow today. We're opening one tomorrow that were sold, right?
Right.
So last week we had an offer on a property. The seller is still trying to decide. But so most of the people that will say there's no properties to buy, mm-hmm. right? Either they're listening to too much news,
right?
Because the news always crap people out that don't know what they're doing, mm-hmm. right? So I always look at it globally, mm-hmm. the U.S. market, right? And so when globally, the U.S. market is going to turn over 5 million properties in terms of selling, right? Mm-hmm. In a whole year, right? 5 to 6 million. So no matter what market there is in, you know what your job is.
Right.
Right. My first job is to find people that want to sell properties.
Right.
That's my first job. I spend 70-80% of my day thinking about that.
Yeah.
How can I find the person that needs my help?
Yeah.
So I can buy their property.
Okay. So this is exactly why I wanted to have Toyin on the podcast, right? Because he just told you something that I don't care if you're an investor or just a real estate sales agent. Every single person in the real estate industry needs to hear that, right? Because that's it, right? Yeah. Like there are going to be people who are going to sell. How do I get my unfair share?
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
Yeah,
And that mentality came with me from the car business.
yeah.
You know, when I was in the car business, um, the first car dealership I went to, right, they had this bonus,
Hmm.
right? Um, if you sell 20 cars, you automatically get $1,000. And you
Okay.
know, in those days, $1,000 is a lot of money, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So whether you gave away the 20 cars and the dealership makes no profit, you're gonna get $1,000.
Okay.
Okay. And so I figured, well, my first goal is how do I get to 20?
Hmm.
Okay. And then um, I finally found the formula that I got to talk to a certain number of people per month,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Either they came freely to the dealership or I have to find them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so that was my goal. And it doesn't matter whether I sell a car or not, I have to talk to 100 people.
yeah, yeah.
And out of those 100 people, I have to bring 50 of them into the box,
Hmm.
and write them up. We call it a write up,
Yeah.
right? And so if I write up 50 people, the chances I will sell 10 or 15 cars.
Right. I'm smiling over here. I don't know if you can see me because I have this conversation with real estate agents all the time, right? Like, what's your ratio?
Yeah.
How many people do you need to talk to get to a contract, right? Like that's
Correct. Yeah.
and once you know that, it's just numbers, right?
Yes.
It's just a game. Now I just have to hit that number of people, and it's time on task over time. Time on task over time equals success, right?
Yes.
And you figured it out selling cars and just took it and applied it to real estate.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh man, I'm so this is now I love here, and I'm going to hit it, man. This is a guy with an MBA who said I'm going to run my real estate, well, my car sales business like a business, and now I'm going to run my real estate business like a business.
Correct. Yeah.
And that equals success.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
once you know the numbers, even if you don't do any marketing, that number is in your mind,
Right.
and that's all you do.
Right.
Like those little ants.
Mhm.
You see them working and working, and you think they don't know where they're going,
Mhm.
but they have how many runs they have to do to take the food back to their coin, right?
Absolutely, and they get it done too.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once you have the number in your mind, then that's all you focus on. You don't focus on, oh yeah, I gotta get a contract today.
Mm-hmm.
You focus on how many people did I talk to today? How many people am I talking to for the whole of the month?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you know your closing ratio, how many contracts am I sending out?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're really smart about it, some people in the industry, they say, oh, you got to send out 4 contracts a month, a day, to see which one is accepted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't write a contract unless I know I already agree with the seller we're going to buy it.
Okay.
Okay. Then I send them a contract.
Right.
You know.
So what? Just to clarify, so when you're buying properties for investment, you're not sending out contracts just willy nilly. You're having conversations.
That's a waste of time.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm in conversations with people that I have identified that are motivated
Mm-hmm.
to sell and that need my help. Right.
Yeah.
Either they want quick cash, they want to sell and stay in the property for a while. They have a tenant that will not move.
Mm-hmm.
They have a house that needs a ton of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So once you identify that, then you focus on that person. As opposed to sending 10 contracts, every day. That's a lot of time wasted. Yeah.
So okay, I want to dig into this a little bit because you're finding opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
right? You said you spend 70% of your time looking for the opportunity.
Correct.
Right. So how are you looking for them? What's your process?
So the process evolves over time.
Okay.
Okay. So if you're brand new starting, because I always tell people, right, I call them my associates,
Mm-hmm.
right, that want to learn what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people specialize in buying properties from agents,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I always tell them, where do you think the agent got his list?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think the agent got the buyer? So if you get there before the agent, then you get to buy the property.
Right.
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 And then you could have the agent sell it for you, right? But how do I find my leads?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Just as I stated earlier, 5 million houses are going to change hands in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so your area, even if you're not focused on one area, you want to focus on the global US, right?
Right.
Okay. So you learn the process. How many that's where statistics are very important.
Mm-hmm.
So in our business, flipping,
Yeah.
right, only 5% of the houses that are sold every year qualifies.
Right. Right.
Okay. So the people that are not sure what they're doing focus on the 75%
Right.
that are, or 95%
Mm-hmm.
that the seller is never going to sell to you anyway.
Right.
Okay. So the question is, how do you find the 5%? Okay. So we use list. Um, I I have ads on. At some point, we did Google.
Mm-hmm.
I still do Google. It's not as much. Then we
Right.
do direct mail.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, you talk to people. People call you after a while.
Right.
You know,
Right.
people try to sell me properties right now because just like you found me,
Right.
people call me, well, or we realized, you're buying properties. How do you know? Well, we saw you.
Yeah.
Where? Yeah. So that's it. That's where most of the leads come from.
Yeah.
Right. You call the owners, you put ads in the paper. When I started, before there was internet, my first ad was in the newspaper that I buy properties.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which is similar to what you would do on Google right now.
Right.
Yeah. So that's really where most of my leads.
So you said that if you're new in it, a lot of people make the mistake of chasing all the 5 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the 5% are who you need to focus on.
Correct. Yes.
How do you focus? Like, how do you identify who those people are? Is that the marketing, or are you targeting marketing at those people?
You put the 5% now in a targeted category.
Okay.
Right? Say, for example, how many houses? Let's just take Riverside,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how many houses in Riverside? Okay. How many houses are over a certain age?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How many people in Riverside that are at a certain age that are maybe want to sell?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How many people are in financial trouble in Riverside?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How many people are likely to move in Riverside? Because before we used to have these statistics where people move every 8 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how many divorces are going on? How many bankruptcies are going on? All those numbers
Mm-hmm.
is what you have to crunch.
Right.
And then you could focus on the smaller numbers, but if you have a lot of money for marketing,
Yeah.
okay, you don't focus as much,
Right.
right? Just do your global marketing.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we could send out 10,000 pieces every week.
Right.
Okay, if you're brand new, you can't do that.
No, you cannot do that. That's a lot. Yeah, exactly. So,
So,
you've got to.
yeah.
So if you're brand new, you've got to have relationships with divorce attorneys, or you've got to be
Correct.
looking at demographics on 20 plus years in the house, right?
Exactly,
And
yes.
notices of default. I mean, that's kind of what you're
Notice
talking
of
about.
default, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have to put in a lot of sweat equity,
Right.
knocking on doors and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to take this to the real estate agent, the sales agent, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of here that's just totally applicable, right?
Of course.
If I wa-
if I was an agent, this is exactly what I would be doing.
Yeah, it's the same thing, right? It's divorce attorneys, it's notice of default, it's 20 plus
Yeah.
years in the home, people are looking to downsize. And then just it's the sweat equity, right?
Yeah, which is knocking on doors.
Right,
If you have no money, then you got to walk the street.
right,
It's as simple as that.
Right.
And I used to walk the street.
yeah.
You know.
But you know the number you need to hit,
Yes.
right? And that's the difference between agents who just go knock on doors versus someone who's running a play.
Yes.
You know the number you need to hit to get the amount of conversations you need to have, to get the number of contracts you need to have, to get the number of closings you need to have.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
And that's the power of it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So on any given year, and because I try to keep these interviews to about a half an hour. We're at 23
fine.
minutes now, so
Oh, okay.
because I know your time's valuable, and I appreciate that. But any given year, how many transactions are you entering into?
So I do in terms of goals, right?
Okay.
So I just focus on the last couple of years because during COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
The goals went out of the window because you didn't really know what will happen.
Right.
Okay, but I was buying,
Mm-hmm.
And it was a huge risk because I didn't really know what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And every property we bought, there was somebody in there that
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to pay rent. Okay, but usually I set my goal, at the beginning of the year that hey, I want to do so many deals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think last year we you only saw 10, right? I think the goal last year was to do 20 flips. Right?
Okay.
Okay. I think we bought about 17 or 18 properties.
Right.
Okay. So there's still properties right now that we haven't sold. Not that we didn't sell, we didn't want to sell them. It's just that I tried to get my price.
Right.
Okay. So some of them are still in the market.
Right.
Some of them we focus it on some kind of rental arbitrage.
Okay.
So that way it gives me the opportunity to leave it there until I get my price.
Okay.
And so our business is run mainly by goals. This year our focus is we want to do 40 properties flips, which is very intense.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, that's just not, the finding it's intense, but getting into a budget on 40 properties.
Yes.
And managing that budget, because homes tend to eat that budget.
Big time, yes.
Okay, yeah, that sounds intense for sure.
Yes, but that's the goal we set.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so which means we have to do at least 3 properties every month.
Right. Right. So what's the team? You said we. Are you a single operator? Do you have a number of people working with you, or?
So you could say I'm a solo operator.
Okay.
Okay. Solo meaning that in between I've had acquisition managers, I call them, lead generators. But what I found is that, this is one of my guys.
Yeah.
What I found is that in itself, has its own problems. Okay. So at some point I made a decision, well, you're going to have so many people that are going to do ABC, right? For example, salespeople, but I have other associates that are in the field that are focused on getting the property ready for resale.
Right.
Okay. So my number one job is bringing in the deals.
Right.
Okay. Where I need more support, really, but that in itself, like I said, has its own problems. Because you probably understand it. The fact if you could have 20 agents and only have one producing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And so it's always going to nag you. How come I have 20 and only one is producing? And so you could spend time thinking about that, or try to focus on the one and help the one as much as possible. So,
well, I love what you're saying too, because it's, so in the life of a real estate agent, what happens is they'll get business and then they focus on all the maintenance stuff, and then they finish that transaction, they've got no business.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. And so what is the one thing such that by doing it, everything becomes easier? Get more business, right? And so as the rainmaker, team leader, you're focused on more business and get leverage over all the admin stuff. Like that's where to put the leverage.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always thinking, I mean, if I close on a deal today, I'm already thinking, where do I find the next one?
Right.
So I don't just forget, we just got a deal, right? The moment we sign the contract, it's in the, right? I'm looking for the next one, because you always have to have your pipeline full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, okay, so this would serve just as well as a real estate investing class as a real estate sales master class. I'm going to just hit some of the highlights here. Know your numbers.
Yes.
Right? Know your numbers. Don't lose track of, if I stop lead generating, I've got no business.
Correct.
Right? That's huge.
That's huge, yes.
Right? And you just said, I'm always thinking about the next deal. Yeah. Right? Because you don't want to be in that situation where you close one and you're suddenly unemployed. Right? Yeah, that's the bad situation to be in. Yeah. All right, so Toyin, I really appreciate you coming in. So what's next? I mean, you said 44 next year is the goal. It's a huge, lofty goal. What are the challenges? What are the things you're going to have to come to get there?
So my number one challenge now is to find a clone of me that will focus on sales just like me. Right? So right now I'm relying on some of my assistants in the field to generate leads, but I come to the conclusion I should just specialize them in the field, in the flipping part of it, right? And find professional salespeople that would talk to my leads.
Yeah.
And then convert them.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if I get one or two of those people, then, I'm home free.
All right.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you need to build a real estate sales team.
Correct. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
2 good salesperson.
Yeah.
Or 3,
Right.
I could do more if I wanted.
Right.
But just the numbers doesn't necessarily translate into deals,
Mm-hmm.
which has been my experience.
Right.
So,
All right, man. So stepping out of, and this is the evolution of any business, right?
Mm-hmm.
I step out of kind of I'm stepping into the CEO role,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and now I'm going to manage these people. I've got these people working underneath me,
Yeah.
but you're stepping into we can do more if I can supervise two people who are going to do the effort that I give,
Yes.
right? And I can operate as a CEO and watch the whole thing grow.
Correct. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Right, Toyin, I appreciate you coming in. I know you've got to be incredibly busy. I mean, as we're here, we've got contractors calling and texting. We had Home Depot calling for approval on something when we got here.
Yeah, this guy. Can I pick him up?
We'll sign off. He's got to pick it up. But hey, guys, we'll catch you next time. All right.